And Jackson has already nabbed a high-profile endorsement from former Vice President Kamala Harris, who in a fundraising email yesterday alluded to her own squeezed campaign for president in 2024, writing in part, quote, "I know what it's like to step up to the plate with a short runway to Election Day."
And Troy Jackson joins us now. First of all, congratulations, Troy, on a big convention win.
Wow.
So Kamala talked about her very short campaign. You're going to be facing the same thing. How is yours going to end differently?
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, I think the difference here is that, people in Maine are fed up. I mean, they got, health care that's gone out of control. We're losing hospitals, losing birthing centers. The economy is awful, tariffs and things like that. And I just think that, people in the state are ready for, a change. They don't want a senator like Susan Collins that, was giving tax cuts to the wealthiest people. I'm a fifth-generation logger from Maine. I've been fighting my entire career to make life better here in Maine. And that's why I think people are going to come this way, because they know me, they trust me, they know I've been fighting for them. I'm not fighting for the billionaire class. And you can go to jacksonformaine.com and you can find out all about it.
All right. Well, and Troy, maybe you can help us explain to people that watch this show the dynamics of what Susan Collins, what Republicans did when they voted for what they call the One Big Beautiful Bill, while also extending Trump tax cuts. So billionaires and multinational corporations got, bigger tax cuts, but Medicaid was slashed. And what we've been trying to explain to people since that happened is a lot of Republicans think that may hurt people in the Bronx, that might hurt people in Brooklyn, that might hurt people in Los Angeles. But we keep saying that if you look at the numbers, that disproportionately hurts people in the reddest parts of America. Can you explain? I'm not being partisan here. This is just reality. Can you explain how slashing Medicaid impacts working class and middle class people all across Maine?
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear, and that's what, is happening here in Maine. I mean, there's an energy like I've never seen of, people that are frustrated, they're fed up. I mean, they want a government that works for them, and cutting Medicaid. I mean, we've lost birthing centers in Fort Kent. We've lost birthing centers in Holton, out in Mount Desert Island, and right now Lincoln County. And it's only getting worse. We lost a hospital in Waterville. And, and the worst thing about this is they were quite evil about the fact that a lot of these cuts are going to happen after the midterm elections. So it's only going to get worse. And you can see it, how it's going to affect our economy. People are just not going to have access to health care. And, Collins has done that time and time again. I mean, she helped overturn Roe versus Wade. Made it hard for people in this country to have health care and, abortion care. And now she's, part of the reason why we're going to lose all access in rural Maine. And like I said, people know it. I mean, we're not stupid. We know when billionaires are screwing us, and Susan Collins is helping them do it.
A lot of their money is going to go towards ads calling you a communist. And they're going to get help from the co-chair of the DSA, who said she wanted to abolish the Senate, get rid of the president, get rid of the Supreme Court, empty the jails, stop funding national defense, erase the borders, defund the police. Do you support any of those things?
No. I mean, but what I do support is a government that works for everyday, people. Small business owners, workers, people that actually, depend on the government to work for them. And it isn't. I mean, it just isn't. And we all know that. And that's why I say, we can have much better government than we have right now. And people in Maine are going to show up on November, and Susan Collins is in trouble.
I want to ask you, you've mentioned a couple of times the birthing centers, and I know one area in Maine where they closed the local hospital, the birthing center specifically, and women have to drive hours to get life-saving medical care when they are pregnant, which is ridiculous in itself. And the comment you made about we are not stupid. I'm just curious. Do you hear from Trump supporters, especially about these decisions that have been made on Trump's watch? Because Maine's an interesting state. It's very diverse. And I'm wondering about your appeal to perhaps both parties and if you're having conversations with those who perhaps voted for Trump.
Well, honestly, throughout my entire time, I've been having those conversations. I mean, I got elected the state Senate all 3 times that Trump was on the ballot, the times that Susan Collins was on the ballot. I mean, I would see signs, Trump, Jackson on people's lawns, although we're totally different. But, I have a long history of fighting for people in Maine, like I said, being a 5th-generation logger. I mean, I got started blocking the Canadian border to protest unfair wages then. I've, worked on the fishing industry. I mean, you name it. But I think, people wanted something, people to stand up for them. They've always wanted that. That's what I want. And, Trump made an argument that he was going to do that. But now it's buyer remorse across the state. I mean, the tariffs are killing businesses across the state. Like I said, we've lost health care because of the big, beautiful bill. Everything is going wrong for people in Maine, and they know that. And that's why I have these conversations all the time with people. Yeah, they're frustrated with Democrats, but they know damn well that Donald Trump and Susan Collins have been doing nothing to help them.
Troy, good morning. Graham Plattner, of course, ended up being a very flawed candidate, but one thing that he undeniably did was excite progressives, excite some degree of populists, appeal to a voter there in Maine who perhaps had never voted before and is questioning whether to do so now. How do you speak to those voters? How do you keep their excitement up and turn that into support for your candidacy?
Yeah, there's no doubt, Graham, did a great job as far as getting people going. Very articulate, better than I am at that. But, what I've been doing, all through this is trying to make sure that people understand that, it's about the movement. It's about the issues. I mean, this is way bigger than any one person, bigger than Graham, certainly bigger than me. We have a chance right now because people are coming together like I've never seen before. And, when I worked for Bernie in 2016, that was the most incredible campaign that, I've ever been around. This is way bigger. I mean, people are coming out like crazy because they are upset. They know that this government is not working for them, and finally, it's gotten so bad that they're actually coming out, picking their heads up, and want some change. And so, for me, it's about continuing to make sure that the movement goes forward. That I make sure and let people know that, look, all these things that you wanted when you were talking to Graham, we can still get them. I mean, we can still do that. We can change the world, by standing up and fighting for each other. And that's what I've been trying to do, is just make sure that people understand that I have the same goals to help them. I mean, that's always been who I am, and we're going to do it if people stay engaged.
Troy, driving through Maine is an interesting experience. You come up I-95, you cross over from New Hampshire, and everything on the right-hand side seems filled with sunshine. You have Portland, you have Ogunquit, you've got a lot of great towns. And the left-hand side seems a little different sometimes. In November, over 170,000 residents of Maine are going to lose SNAP benefits. How do you hammer that home?
Yeah, well, that's another thing that I think, people understand. We have a very high food insecurity here in Maine. That's why, I was able to do universal school meals, brought people together, Republicans and Democrats. I mean, because, people need assistance. I mean, it's a challenged state. We are a low wage state. And people need help, and that's fine. And now they want to take that away. And it's not only that, it's the farmers here in Maine that actually are going to lose the business of SNAP benefits too, which is incredible amount. I think it's $35 million, something like that a week. I'm not really sure what the number is, but anyways, it's people that are going hungry, businesses that won't have that opportunity, and that too, people will understand. They know that free school meals and how assistance like that is a big deal across the state. And when we lose it, that'll be another nail in the proverbial coffin for Senator Collins.
So you had, at one point, you've had evolving views on choice. And I would love you to talk us through how they've evolved and how you've gotten to actually be pro-choice and how you've voted for LGBT rights.
Sure. Early on, I wasn't, real clear on reproductive rights. But I had a lot of conversations over time, a lot of conversations with women, doctors, community members. Just people that I came to trust. And it became, more and more clear to me that abortion access was health care. And really, that's always been, people in Maine see me as a labor guy, and I am. But the reason why I really ran for the legislature is because I was upset that people in my community couldn't get health care. And so that's been a big issue for me. So when I understood, it became clear that abortion access is health care, it just changed for me. And over the last decade or more, Planned Parenthood has had a 100% record for me, endorsed me. When Susan Collins was helping overturn Roe versus Wade, here in Maine, we were actually, I co-sponsored one of the most progressive reproductive rights bills in the country, fought incredibly hard for it. I made sure that low-income women had access under Maine care to abortion access. And, now, I was wrong. And but I'm very proud of my record over the last decade or more of fighting for access across the state.